Okay, let's talk about interdimensional beings. So Anna Paulina Luna comes out and says there's interdimensional beings. You started off this conversation saying you think that there's demons amongst
Hmm.
us, essentially. So is
Hmm.
that what you think these interdimensional beings are? I mean, do you think this is like when people have sightings of dead, like ghosts?
Hmm.
Are they really seeing, or do you think these are different? Are they really seeing interdimensional beings, or are they
I,
saying, you know, what do you think?
I think it's probably a spectrum of things. It's probably not just one thing. I do think there are things that visit us that we just can't explain, and people will say it's a ghost because we've kind of been trained to think of it as a ghost or an alien through the
Yeah,
predictive programming of Hollywood and TV and stuff. But when she was talking about it, she was trying to draw the correlation to the Book of Enoch. It's not in the canon, and not in the Bible, in most Bibles, but the Book of Enoch talks about the Nephilim, the fallen angels, and so she was trying to draw that comparison from aliens into a biblical worldview, which might be more aligned to how I see these things. I don't think she gave much evidence of that other than saying Book of Enoch. But they're the fallen angels and the Nephilim. They show up in Genesis. That's why the flood happens, right? People will tell you that the demons who make up Legion, when Christ expels all the demons from Legion and puts them in the pigs and they fall off the cliff, they'll say those could be the demons from the Nephilim. So again, I don't really know, but I do think the way she's talking about interdimensional beings definitely sounds more like what I think could be possible when people are seeing the poltergeist, the ghosts. I've had my own experience with that as well, where I just can't explain why the switch in this house was going off and the ceiling fan was going on. It was very bizarre, and I don't know how to explain that other than something was there doing it.
yeah,
So I understand and I sympathize for those people who have these stories, just can't explain it, like me. I really don't have a word for it yet or a way to say I know for sure what I think it is, other than something's happening. Something for
yeah.
sure is happening. And I guess the way I see it in my mind the most is if you've ever read C.S. Lewis's the Screw Tape Letters, where there's like demons talking to their clients. That's kind of how I see it, as these demonic entities that can possess people, that can get them to do bad things, and it starts in a small way and then kind of accelerates into a bigger way. But yeah, it was wild seeing her talk about it, and on a huge platform, which I love. But it gets very upsetting when they can't really offer anything else, which just makes me think it's part of a larger psyop, despite
Right.
my attitude towards it and the biases I have towards an interdimensional being.
But I mean, or maybe the government is also studying ghosts. I mean, it's possible,
Oh
right?
yeah,
That these are not, they're not using
100%.
interdimensional beings, like thinking that they're in the category of aliens. But I mean, I guess they would be in the category of aliens.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
our government has funded lots of crazy things. We've funded remote viewers to talk to what they think are UFOs. We've funded remote viewers to look at Mars. They say from like 50 million years ago. We've funded remote viewers to look for the Ark of the Covenant. So the government clearly does uh, hold some stock, put some stock into those fringe ideas. And
right.
they certainly want to. They do it because they want to control your brain, right? The whole MK Ultra thing was pretty much born out of the idea of we can work with, we can have Eli Lilly make acid and work on dosing people to control them, turn into super soldiers, but we can also talk to magicians. Like what was his name, John McClellan, who was like a friend of Houdini, who so they can create these illusions on people. And it seems like all of that has now, it's where we are now with social media. Everything now is an
Mm.
optical illusion and something out there to help twist your brain to work for whatever narrative they want you to believe in, especially in terms of trying to make you scared of something.
Yeah. I'm again with ghosts. I would love to see a ghost, but probably not actually. I'd probably scream. I'd be frightened out of my
Yeah,
mind. But again, it's one of those things where kind of like aliens, I just feel like if they really were real, if ghosts were real, then we all would have seen them, to some degree. I don't know. But then I do know people that don't believe in ghosts at all, and yet they saw ghosts.
yeah.
And they were like,
The
"Look, I
Catholic
don't even believe in this." And I saw it,
the Catholic
a couple
Church takes
times.
it very seriously. Like the Catholic Church does have exorcisms. They go out and study
Right.
miracles. So they do take that seriously. The Catholic Church does. And I haven't seen a ghost. I've encountered things I just can't explain. But I think there's also the possibility that we just can't. There's things we can't perceive with our little flawed human brains. When you think of
Some
like
people are
another
able
animal.
to. I mean, I
Some
just
people
don't know
are.
why
Yeah.
some could see it and some can't. Like, why
Yeah.
that would be, especially somebody who's a non-believer. I mean, it's more believable that somebody who believes would be kind of looking and trying and hoping,
Yeah.
and maybe even that hope would kind of make it make the ghost apparate or something. But we're not. But then there's people that just don't believe at all, and they're seeing the ghosts,
It's something I see on
or
my show all the time. Sorry.
yeah, or their brains are just, they're making it up.
Totally
Brains are
possible,
weird.
or they're schizophrenic to some degree, or it's a
Yeah,
dream or
right,
some sort of
right.
waking dream they can't explain. People on the show call in all the time, and I have Christians who call in it who are super opposed to all this stuff, but they saw something and they can't explain it. Then I have atheists who think none of this is real, but I have atheists who call in and have seen all these experiences. So in some way they have a faith, beyond just this mortal realm, but
Yeah.
no one can explain it. And I think it's just some people might be more susceptible to it. It does seem like children are more vulnerable to seeing things. It might be because it's an active imagination. It might be because they're not ruined by society yet. It might be because they're just closer to. I think kids are like the closest thing to God. Like when you're seeing your
Mhm.
newborn baby, that is a direct communication to God, and maybe that those children have that access to that still for some time. But we get a lot of phone calls from people with stories from their childhood, and it's always hard to go through those stories because I'm like, it's been a long time since you experienced it. It could just be your
Yeah.
memory tweak it out. But there's so many stories like that, and they all experience really strange things that tend to happen around trauma. And trauma also affects your mind. So, it's hard to say this actually happened, or perhaps your mind was warped by grief.
Thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iverson show, which you can catch Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. It is free for you to watch. Again, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, KimIversonShow.com. See you there.